Vijay, let me throw it back to you. What were you thinking about when you were playing?
I mean, it's kind of a truism in the way this kind of music is taught, which isn't how I learned it, but the way it's often taught is that they tell you not that you must not be thinking when you're playing. And I think that that's kind of an impoverished view of what thought is, because thought is something that's distributed through all of our actions, and all, I view cognition as an embodied process, as you mentioned it in talking about my thesis work.
When you say embodied, you're saying it's not just something that happens in the brain. We have to think about how the mind interacts with the fingers, with our bodies, reacting to the audience, all of that.
So there are aspects of bodily expertise in terms of responding and making choices and actions in real time. And then there's also the situated aspect of it, which is that my expertise is useless sitting over here. It matters that I'm sitting there at that instrument and not just anywhere. So that structural aspect of the environment matters and is productive also. In terms of what I am thinking, though, I mean, I deliberately chose a piece that had a pre-existing structure that is meant to be improvised through. And in fact, the way Coltrane, this is called Giant Steps, and Coltrane wrote it for himself as a kind of etude. It involves a sort of unlikely set of harmonic progressions, or harmonic leaps, or steps, and so he wanted to see if he could create lines that made sense across those weird leaps, but also at quite a high velocity, if you're familiar with the original. So then there's a degree of athletic rigor that's involved in just achieving it. Merely achieving it is itself that says something. And in fact, there's a famous CD of outtakes of him. When he first created this song, he tried recording it many, many times, about 100 or so times, and there's a CD of just a whole bunch of outtakes where you hear him trying and being dissatisfied, trying again, and there's just a few seconds of banter at the beginning where he's talking to his bandmates, and he says, I don't think I'm going to improve this. I mean, I'm just trying to make the changes. I'm not telling no stories. And then one of his bandmates said, well, really, if you make these changes, that'll tell them a story. So I thought that was really interesting, that there's actually something to be said for putting yourself through a set of rigors or trials and emerging somehow on the other side, having grown and developed a new kind of expertise.
Well, I guess what I'm so fascinated by is I'm trying to figure out how much you're thinking this out as you're up there playing, or are your fingers leading? Where do you think it comes from?
Well, there are a lot of micro decisions being made every step of the way. There are certain, how should I say it? I guess potentialities that, well, I've made a point actually when I work with this song in particular, because the tendency when people try to play this song is to kind of outline the chords and play a lot of arpeggios and things that sort of delineate, look, I'm playing the changes, And for me, I wanted to work more with what's at hand that works. So what's actually right here, where my hand is, that is a solution, one of many possible solutions. And really, if you start looking within a small compass of the range of the hand, you find very different pathways through the same materials. So I'm often making choices like that have to do more. So then you're kind of creating very small melodies, melodic fragments that have a small compass that might have a sort of almost a folk-like character because they have simple intervals in them. So I guess I'm trying to think in those terms about just stringing together little fragments of melody. But I'm also, I also set this song in a different rhythmic cycle than the original song. Thinking about, and when I say thinking about, I mean making myself do the rhythmic work, because rhythm is not just something you get right. It's something that is meant to be communicated, or else it's not really working. It's meant to be something that's shared.